do not move to this place. I am serious, guys. If you're thinking of a move to Denver, you're gonna wanna watch this video where I give you the 5 things I hate about living in the Denver metro area. Let's go. Guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tim Carman, your host for Everything Denver, Colorado, where we explore all the great and beautiful neighborhoods in and around Denver. We're taking a different turn on this episode of Everything Denver today, and we're going to talk about the 5 things I absolutely hate about living in Denver. And if these things are deal breakers for you, in no way should you move to the Denver metro area. The number one thing that I really hate about living in Denver is how they have let the city go and kind of let the homeless problem spiral out of control. Now, granted, it's not quite as bad as places like Portland or Los Angeles or New York or some of the other places, big places around the country. But Denver's not that big, and it shouldn't have as big of a homeless problem as it does, because the truth is a lot of the suburbs around Denver do a really good job of keeping the streets clean, keeping the community safe, and addressing and getting proper things in place to handle some of the homeless problems. And while Denver really doesn't, it's sad to see some of your streets lined with tents and needles on the side of the road and things like that. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate comments from people saying, why don't you do something about it? There's plenty of things that we can do about it to address it, and it's evident because a lot of the suburbs have done it. They've cleaned up a lot of these issues. They've partnered with private organizations that do lend a helping hand to the homeless who want help to get off the streets, to get out of this situation. But sadly, Denver, the local government there, kind of cares more about talking about the problem instead of addressing the problem. They like to throw a lot of money and start a lot of focus groups and things like that, but it doesn't really relate to good, actionable items that end up fixing the problem. So number one, that would be my biggest complaint about the city of Denver right now. Number 2 thing I would say is the rising crime rates in the Denver metro, Denver and Aurora areas specifically. Now, yes, they're going to say these crime rates are a lot less than other big cities when you compare it to places like Chicago or LA or Washington, D.C. But when has that been good enough? Why will we say things like, no, it's not as bad as living in North Korea? Well, it could be better here, so why don't we make it better here? I would say that Denver, given its size, can do a much better job in addressing crime and getting it reduced in a lot of these areas. Years back, when New York City was dealing with some of the highest crime in the nation, they came in and did a really good job supporting the police department and getting things taken care of and reducing crime a lot and making it one of the safest big cities in the world. And Denver could take a few lessons from that, not letting some of these smaller things like broken windows and trash all over the streets and just letting all these small things slide and then end up getting avalanched with a bunch of bigger crimes, and now you're playing catch up from the start. So number 2 complaint is that Denver and Aurora specifically could do a lot better job in addressing some of the higher crime, rising crime issues. You look at other states, other cities around the U.S. that are comparable in size, that do a much better job in addressing these issues and not letting them get out of hand. I'd like to add one caveat here, that a lot of the suburbs and smaller towns in and around Denver do a really good job. There's a lot of local, smaller municipal police departments and city charters that are doing a really good job in addressing these issues. So you don't believe everything that you see on the news, that every part of Denver is just riddled with crime and overrun with homelessness, because that's not true. It's really kind of isolated to some parts of inner city, North Denver, and the north part of Aurora. All right, number 3 thing I hate about Denver is the rising cost of living and rising taxes that are seeming to happen across our state. Now, there's a lot of benefits still to living here, and we do have lower tax rates than a lot of places around the country. But Denver used to be this kind of mecca of affordability before it got out that Denver was a really cool place to live. People from a lot of other states came in with a lot of money, started buying up a lot of the real estate, and as a result have driven up a lot of the home prices. So yes, Colorado can be kind of expensive compared to some other parts of the country, but it's also relatively cheap compared to some of the other pockets around the US, like Washington, D.C., Boston, New York, LA, San Francisco. People come here and they're like, man, things are really, really affordable here. So, it's all about perspective on where you're coming from and where you're moving to. No, we're not going to have cheap home prices like you see in Kansas or Arkansas or some places in the South, but we also have a lot of other benefits of living here. But it is a frustration that it has gotten very expensive for a lot of people, and a lot of locals have decided that it's gotten too expensive for them and have moved on to cheaper places around the country. Number 4, I don't want to dive too much into the politics of Colorado, but our legislature has been getting overreaching and kind of sneaking some things into bills that have not been beneficial for the freedoms that you enjoy in the US. One of the most recent this year was a gun control bill that they have passed that's going to enact a lot more restrictions on law-abiding citizens and gun owners in the state. And Colorado has been well known as a big hunting and fishing place in the US. So I'm all for punishing criminals who are illegally doing things and getting guns illegally, but seems like these laws are more geared towards the law-abiding citizens and making it more difficult for them and harder on them than it is addressing some of the root problems of crime in our state. Some other things that the legislature has done that have been sneaky are some tax increases that, if someone didn't read the entire bill, you might not know it was a tax increase. In Colorado, quick history lesson, we have a thing called TABOR, which is a Taxpayer's Bill of Rights. And this says that if the government, has additional money that has not been spent, it's to be returned to the taxpayers. One of the benefits of living here is that if you paid taxes, the state didn't use it, it was to be divided equally among the people who paid taxes. Well, they started writing into legislation things like, without increasing taxes, can the state do X, Y, Z? And the reason for this is so they can keep more of that money and kind of abolish some of those taxpayer Bill of Rights things. So it is a big frustration of mine that some of these things have seemed to be underhanded in the legislature, and it is a big frustration of a lot of people on both sides of the aisle here that the government seems to be keeping more of our money and not abiding by some things that we had voted on in past elections. That brings us to number 5. And guys, I hope you found this video helpful. Before I give you number 5, if you're thinking of moving here, I know I've given you 5 reasons not to ever move here, but if Colorado's on the list because of the other video, 5 things I love about living in the Denver metro area, and that life does appeal to you, and you're leaving a place that has high crime and you want to get into a safer, more community feel of a neighborhood, reach out to me. Call, text, or email. I got your back on all things Denver real estate. We'll get you set up for success and find you that perfect neighborhood around Denver. So number 5, this one goes out to all the trolls online. There's a lot of hate among locals and other people for Denver. I guess it's the nature of social media and people's online presence. They have to complain about something, and they really, really do tear down the city completely. People on both sides, to be honest, but a lot of people saying that Californians have destroyed our state. A lot of people say Texans have destroyed our state. Anybody from out of town has destroyed our state. And then when you go and you find out who these people are, they moved here 3 years ago. It's ridiculous. None of these people would actually say that to your face or say that Colorado is a dumpster fire to a group of people if they were live and in person. But when you're behind a keyboard, you can get all your aggravation and hate out for a city, and it's kind of depressing. So stay out of the media chat rooms and Reddit and all the things that people like to do to vent their frustrations and their anger, because Colorado, while it does have plenty of problems that we've outlined in this video, and I also have those frustrations, it's still a great place to raise your family. There's so many great things about living here: the outdoor weather, the things to do, the beautiful scenery year round, the communities that are outside of Denver that are just beautiful places to live, clean, safe streets, great community neighborhoods. They make Colorado a place worth living. So if this is you and you're thinking of a move to the Denver metro area, like I said, call, text, or email. Email is usually the quickest way to get a hold of me. And if you're curious, but you're not ready for a call yet, you're not ready to talk about a home search here in Denver, download my free relocation guide linked in the video description below. It has a lot of good information, not only on Denver, but things to do around the city, some median home prices, other cost of living statistics in there that can help get you started on your move to Denver. So until next time, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe.